Earnings season is among us, Pops, and we have two very notable automakers that we're going to look at today. General Motors earnings came out already. Ford's earnings should be coming out just tomorrow, but we have a preview from Cox Automotive. Dad, let's talk about General Motors first. Q2 profits down 40%. Not a good look. What else did you see when you dug into what's going on at GM?
Well, they thoroughly expect to hit their guidance for the year. Even though profits were down 40% in the second quarter, because overcoming a 40% decline in profits over the next two quarters is just so easy to do. There are pressures in the automotive industry right now that are causing these declines in profits. The cost to build the cars has gone up. The cost for the raw materials has gone up. There's only so much that the manufacturers can do to raise the prices to compensate for that, because they know since there's a short supply of cars, their dealers are tacking on an extra $2, $3, $4, up to $50,000 and more in additional dealer markups. So if that were all to continue, nobody will be able to buy a car, which would, impact their profits moving forward even more.
So let's break down the GM review and the Ford review. GM's got about 100,000 vehicles still sitting around waiting for parts. Their sales were down 15% across all of their different brands. Now let's break it down by brand. Buick saw their sales fall the most, down 56% quarter over quarter. Wow. GM's highest volume brand, Chevy, that fell 10% in terms of sales. Cadillac sales dropped only 7%. Wonder why? Because they're the most expensive vehicles with the most profits, so we're going to prioritize building them. GMC sales slipped 14%.
I think the reason Cadillac sales only dropped 7% is because there were a number of Cadillac dealerships that chose not to go the conversion route to EVs and took a buyout from General Motors. So there's less Cadillac dealers out there. So that's why sales haven't been significantly impacted.
Incentives, Dad, down for GM products are down 61% quarter over quarter. For the first time, incentives were below $2,000 on average for GM's brands. Buick, Chevrolet, and GMC incentives were cut by more than 60%, while Chevrolet incentives averaged $1,696 in the quarter. Buick's average was $1,077. GMC spent $1,633 per vehicle, and Cadillac still had $2,634 in incentives, down 57%. Quarter over quarter. GM, their profits might be down 40%, but their marketing spend is also way down. They're spending way less to incentivize consumers to buy their new cars.
Yep, absolutely. And I think some of that is reflective in sales. You take your highest performing volume brand, Chevrolet, and you cut your incentives the way they have. Yeah, that's going to impact sales. The American public has been trained by the manufacturers to wait for incentives. And if the incentives aren't there, then oftentimes the American public waits a little longer. Thinking about getting an extended warranty? Go to joinyaa.com and check out our pricing there. There's no obligation, no spam, no robocalls. YAA for your extended warranty.
Let's jump into average transaction prices, Dad. For the first time ever, the average GM product cost over $50,000, up another 5% quarter over quarter, 5%, excuse me, to $50,261. GM's highest price models go all the way up to $111,000 for some of their Cadillac products, which is truly unbelievable. The Suburban and Tahoe had average selling prices, transaction prices of $72,000 and $67,000, almost $68,000 respectively. Chevrolet had four models under $30,000, the Malibu at $29,175, the Spark at $17,836, and the Trailblazer and Trax at $28,000 and about $25,500 each. Pops, the average price for America's favorite, cars from General Motors, America's #1 selling automaker, over $50,000 on average. Wow.
In my mind, this is all trending in the wrong direction. This is taking more and more of the American public out of the market to be able to buy and afford cars. Yes, General Motors has 4 vehicles that we would consider in the affordable range, okay? The problem is they're not making them in enough volume that the people that would want to buy them can buy them because there aren't enough of them. Uh, it's just getting more and more difficult for the average American to satisfy their transportation needs.
We're waiting for Ford to publicly announce their earnings. However, we have their sales data, average transaction price, and incentive data as well. Let's dig into that too. Dad,
Sure.
Ford, their sales in Q2 were actually up 2% year over year. So they bucked the trend of the industry. They actually sold more cars. The industry was down 20% year
Mhm.
over year for the second quarter. We saw that Ford's market share was up to 13.7%, up 3 percentage points from where it had been. So Ford is, I mean, put aside all the recalls, put aside all the dealer markups, they're actually faring much better than General Motors here in the United States in terms of performance year over year.
Well, and a lot of it has to do is they've probably gotten a lot of the vehicles that have been sitting at Dirt Mountain and other lots. They probably have gotten those vehicles completed and shipped to dealers where they were able to finally be retailed, as opposed to having them sit in holding lots waiting on parts. So it bodes well in that their sales are slightly up, but my suspicion is, especially for those vehicles that had been sitting, that their warranty repair expense is going to be much higher on those vehicles, ultimately, probably higher than the actuarials had figured they would be because they sat for so long.
While on the GM side, we saw a decline of about 60% in incentive spend. Ford's incentives are down 54%, 55% for Ford brand, 47% for their Lincoln brand. The average incentive on a Ford product is now $1,100. For a Lincoln vehicle, it's nearly $3,000. And the average transaction price that in Q2 for a Ford vehicle was $51,995. Let's call it $52,000, an increase of nearly 10% quarter over quarter. The F Series, Dad, America's favorite truck, it's a
Uh-huh.
$63,000 average transaction price. That is, as you like to say, that is knucking futz.
It's a pickup truck, damn it. It's a pickup truck. Okay? It's not a sports car. It's a pickup truck. It's supposed to be a utilitarian type of vehicle. And you shouldn't be paying almost 63 or $64,000 for one of those. It just and I know more and more people buy it as a luxury type of vehicle. For what reason, I don't know. But they're meant to be utilitarian. Utility shouldn't cost quite that much.
That's your Q2 update for America's favorite automakers. We'll be bringing all the Asian brands, all the other automakers in here as we get information from them, Dad. Interesting. Q2 to me, these earnings reports, this is a little bit of where I think the song and dance is starting to come to an end. We're starting to see some of the holes that can be poked in these automakers' business models. Sure, Ford's sales numbers are up, but I wouldn't be surprised if over the next couple of weeks we're hearing about more recalls, more customer stories that are having challenges with vehicles that were sitting around. And let's be
Hmm.
very real. They're transition to Ford Model E, where the price is the price. Ford's got an uphill battle there. The markups on Ford products are just through the roof. Shout out to markups.org and our dealer reviews back on our website. Markups are crazy on Ford products. So I think we've got an interesting couple weeks here. And like I said, I think the song and dance is starting to come to an end just a little bit.
Yeah, maybe the music's finally stopping.